Welcome to the deep dive. Let's cut right to the chase. How often do you find yourself locked in that nightly battle, just, wishing for sleep?
It happens to so many
You're
people.
definitely not alone. It's a staggering fact that over two-thirds of us wrestle with poor sleep that sticks around for months, sometimes even years.
Yeah, it's really pervasive.
And this isn't just about feeling a bit tired the next day. It impacts, everything from your overall health to your mood and how much you can actually get done.
It's a truly pervasive issue with really significant knock-on effects, absolutely. And what's so interesting is that the answers often aren't some complicated medical fix.
Right.
We've dug deep into the science and we've uncovered 7 surprisingly simple, science-backed sleep secrets that have consistently helped people finally get better sleep after countless restless nights.
Simple secrets. I like the sound of that.
Yeah, we're talking about straightforward tweaks you can likely implement tonight for noticeable, immediate improvements.
Exactly. No major life overhauls needed here. Today, we're zeroing in on some key areas that often fly under the radar. Things like the hidden ways your own bedroom environment might be working against you,
Mm-hmm.
the absolutely crucial role of sleep timing, how your everyday food and drink habits are secretly impacting your zizzies,
Big one.
how to tackle that relentless pre-bed mental chatter, and finally, how the choices you make during the day set the stage for a good night's sleep.
Basically the whole picture.
Think of this as your fast track to understanding what truly makes the difference between another foggy morning and waking up feeling genuinely refreshed and ready to go.
So let's begin where the nightly journey either succeeds or, stumbles. The bedroom itself.
Okay.
Have you ever really considered if the very space you're trying to sleep in is actually undermining your efforts? We tend to point the finger at things like stress or that evening coffee,
Yeah, the usual suspects.
but the environment is, well, it's foundational.
It really is. You're lying there in the dark, trying your best to relax. But what about that sliver of light sneaking in around the edges of your curtains? Or the persistent little LED glow from your TV or phone charger? Even the soft illumination of your digital alarm clock?
Tiny things, but they add up.
You might not consciously register these as major disturbances, but on a physiological level, they're sending signals that it's not truly nighttime.
That's such a critical point about those seemingly tiny light sources. And when we talk about light, we have to specifically address blue light.
Ah, yes, blue light.
This emanates from all our screens, phones, tablets, laptops, and even some of those energy-efficient light bulbs. What's fascinating here is the direct line it takes to our sleep biology.
How so?
This blue light signals the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN. Think of it as the tiny conductor of our body's 24-hour rhythm
The master clock.
to suppress the production of melatonin.
Melatonin, of course, is that vital hormone that signals to our body that it's time to wind down and prepare for sleep.
Exactly. So even that seemingly insignificant dim light at night, like the glow from your alarm clock, can subtly disrupt this entire process.
Right.
It can delay the moment you actually fall asleep, shorten the total amount of time you're asleep, and even throw off your circadian rhythm, making it harder to feel truly rested even when you do wake up.
It's like your brain is getting mixed messages about the time of day.
Precisely. And it's not just about what you see. What you hear also plays a critical role in your sleep environment. Noise is another often underestimated enemy of good sleep.
Okay. Noise. I can see that.
You might think you can tune out the sounds of traffic or your neighbor's early morning activity, but on a deeper level, your brain remains surprisingly sensitive to auditory input even while you're asleep.
Right. So while you might not fully awaken from a sudden sound like a car horn or the refrigerator kicking on, it can still prevent you from reaching those really vital restorative stages of sleep, the slow wave sleep and REM sleep.
Exactly. And what's fascinating here is the phenomenon of microarousal.
Microarousal.
These are brief, almost imperceptible moments of waking that you likely won't remember in the morning, but they significantly fragment your sleep architecture.
Ah, okay.
Persistent noises, whether it's traffic, nearby conversations, or even a partner snoring, can trigger these microarousals.
So even if you don't remember waking up.
Right. The cumulative effect is often that next day grogginess, trouble concentrating, and a general feeling of irritability, even if you believe you slept for an adequate number of hours.
Because your sleep wasn't truly deep or restorative.
Exactly. Even if you don't fully wake up, these tiny disruptions prevent your brain from cycling through the deep restorative stages of sleep.
And then there's the aspect of physical comfort, which seems pretty obvious, but it is absolutely essential. We're talking about your mattress and your pillow.
Definitely.
That old saggy mattress might feel familiar, but it could be creating pressure points that cause you to toss and turn throughout the night as your body subconsciously tries to find a more comfortable position.
Precisely. An unsupportive mattress prevents your muscles from fully relaxing, which is fundamental for entering those deeper sleep stages.
Makes sense.
Similarly, a pillow that doesn't properly support the natural curvature of your head and neck can lead to muscle strain and pain, further disrupting your sleep.
Like waking up with a stiff neck.
That's a clear sign your pillow might not be providing the support you need.
Yeah, and it can become a really vicious cycle, can't it?
Yeah.
Chronic pain can be exacerbated by sleeping on a poor mattress or pillow.
Mm-hmm.
And that pain then further contributes to fragmented and restless sleep.
Exactly. So, what practical steps can we take to address these often unseen enemies within our bedrooms? Fortunately, many of the solutions are relatively simple and immediately actionable.
Okay, good. Let's hear them. First up, let's tackle light.
Right.
Blackout curtains are a real game changer for effectively blocking out those sneaky light leaks.
They really are.
If installing those isn't immediately feasible, even a comfortable, well-fitting sleep mask can make a surprisingly significant difference.
Good point. And for managing noise, a simple and cost-effective solution for many is using earplugs.
Yeah.
Alternatively, a white noise machine can generate a consistent background sound that helps to mask those more disruptive intermittent noises.
Right, drown out the sudden bangs or rattles.
Yeah.
Now, if your mattress is the main culprit, but purchasing a brand new one isn't in the immediate budget.
A supportive mattress topper can be a very effective short-term fix. It adds an extra layer of comfort and pressure relief.
Good tip.
And when it comes to pillows, it's all about personal preference and your dominant sleeping position. Finding a pillow with the right height and firmness to keep your head and neck properly aligned is key.
You know, it's interesting. I remember reading that research has really emphasized just how powerful optimizing the darkness of your room can be.
Oh, yeah.
Making your sleep environment as close to pitch black as possible has been strongly linked to individuals experiencing fewer symptoms of insomnia and an overall improvement in their sleep quality.
That's absolutely right. What's fascinating here is how fundamental complete darkness is for allowing your body to maximize its natural production of melatonin and for really supporting an undisturbed and restorative sleep cycle. So even these seemingly minor adjustments to your bedroom environment can have a surprisingly profound impact on your sleep.
Okay, so bedroom fixed. But as we mentioned earlier, the where you sleep is only one piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
Let's now turn our attention to the crucial aspect of when you sleep.
Exactly. The timing. We often operate under the assumption that if we've had a tough week with too little sleep, we can simply make up for it with a long lie-in on the weekend.
Yeah, the weekend catch-up.
Yeah.
But is that actually the most effective approach for our bodies?
Well, the scientific evidence strongly suggests otherwise. Our bodies really thrive on regularity, and this is where the concept of the circadian rhythm becomes so important.
Our internal body clock.
Think of it as your body's internal 24-hour clock, operating deep within your brain. It's not solely responsible for sleep and wakefulness. It actually orchestrates a whole range of vital bodily functions.
Such as what specifically?
Well, it governs the precise timing of the release of key hormones, including cortisol, which helps us wake up and be alert, and melatonin, which signals that it's time to prepare for sleep.
Okay.
It also intricately regulates our core body temperature, which naturally dips as we approach bedtime, and even influences our metabolic processes, affecting how we utilize energy throughout the day and night. This internal clock is constantly working to synchronize itself with the external world, the natural cycle of light and darkness.
So when we have inconsistent bedtimes, and perhaps even more significantly, inconsistent wake times, especially that huge shift on the weekends, staying up late Friday, sleeping in Saturday.
Yeah, that weekend whiplash.
What exactly happens within our bodies?
That creates what's commonly referred to as social jet lag. It's remarkably similar to the feeling you experience after traveling across multiple time zones.
Interesting comparison.
Your internal clock becomes misaligned with your actual sleep-wake schedule. Your body expects predictability, and when it doesn't receive it, it can lead to a cascade of negative effects.
Like what?
Hormone release becomes mistimed, temperature regulation is disrupted, and even your digestive system can be affected. Think of it as constantly forcing your body to live in a different time zone each week. It takes a real toll.
And the consequences of this chronic irregularity in our sleep schedule can actually be quite significant for our health, right?
Indeed. Research has consistently linked chronic sleep schedule irregularity or high levels of social jet lag to an increased risk for some serious health problems.
Oh, jeez.
Cardiovascular issues, metabolic disturbances such as insulin resistance and weight gain, mood disorders, and some longer-term studies even suggest a potential negative impact on overall longevity.
Wow. So it's not just about hours left.
It really underscores that simply getting enough hours of sleep isn't the only crucial factor. The consistency of your sleep schedule appears to be just as, if not more, vital for certain health outcomes.
So if we can't always maintain a perfectly rigid bedtime due to, life,
Mm.
what's the most important thing we can do to keep our circadian rhythm happy and on track?
Surprisingly, the primary focus should be less on rigidly enforcing a specific bedtime and more on maintaining a consistent wake-up time.
Wake up time. Really?
Yes, even on weekends.
Yep.
While allowing yourself an extra hour or so of sleep on your days off is generally fine, drastically different wake-up times send confusing signals to your internal clock.
Okay.
Aiming to wake up within roughly the same 60 to 90-minute window every day of the week provides a really reliable anchor point that helps keep your entire 24-hour biological rhythm properly synchronized.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. But why is the wake up time such a pivotal factor? What's the mechanism there?
It all boils down to light. Light is the most powerful environmental cue that resets our internal clock on a daily basis. For most people, our natural circadian rhythm isn't exactly 24 hours. It tends to be slightly longer. Therefore, it needs that daily adjustment to stay in sync with the actual cycle of day and night.
And morning light does that.
Morning light provides this crucial reset signal.
Yeah. So when we expose ourselves to bright light in the morning, what specific biological processes are triggered?
When that light, particularly the blue spectrum light that's abundant in natural daylight, enters your eyes shortly after you wake up, it travels directly to that master conductor we talked about earlier, the SCN.
The suprachiasmatic nucleus.
Got it. This light signal essentially communicates to the SCN, okay, the day has officially begun. So essentially, our exposure to morning light is like hitting the reset button on our internal clock every day.
And then the SCN takes over and initiates a cascade of other signals, like turning off the sleep faucet.
Precisely. It promptly sends signals throughout the body, including to the pineal gland, instructing it to decrease the production and release of melatonin, that hormone that promotes sleepiness.
Yeah.
This suppression of melatonin is absolutely essential for promoting feelings of alertness, causing a slight rise in your core body temperature, and initiating all the various physiological processes associated with being awake and active during the daytime.
And the brighter the light, the better.
The intensity and the precise timing of this light exposure are key factors. Bright light has a significantly stronger effect than dimmer indoor light, and getting it soon after you wake up maximizes its ability to synchronize your circadian rhythm.
So the major takeaway here is to really leverage the power of that morning light. What are some practical and actionable ways we can make that happen?
Making a conscious effort to get exposure to bright light, ideally natural sunlight, within that first hour after waking is incredibly effective.
Just step outside.
Could be as simple as stepping outside for just 10 to 15 minutes, having your breakfast near a brightly lit window, or even just opening your curtains wide as soon as you get out of bed.
Simple enough.
This seemingly simple act helps to solidify your wake-up time, powerfully reinforces the suppression of melatonin, gives you that much-needed boost of daytime alertness, and crucially, sets the stage for feeling sleepy at the appropriate time later that evening.
So you're setting yourself up for success later.
By properly anchoring the start of your internal day, you make it much easier for your body to naturally wind down and fall asleep when nighttime arrives.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got our bedroom environment optimized and our sleep timing on a more consistent track. Now, let's delve into something we engage with every single day, often multiple times a day, our eating and drinking habits.
Ah, yes. Food and drink.
How do these seemingly hidden factors influence the quality and duration of our sleep?
This is a truly fascinating area because what we choose to consume, and perhaps even more importantly, the timing of that consumption, has a very direct and significant impact on our ability to both fall asleep and stay asleep throughout the night.
It actually changes how we sleep.
It influences the very architecture of our sleep in quite profound ways.
Yes. Let's start with the most commonly discussed culprit. Caffeine. We all know it's a stimulant, but what's the real timeline of its effects on our system?
Caffeine, which is prevalent in coffee, tea, sodas, energy drinks, Lots of places.
Chocolate too.
Chocolate, yes. It exerts its stimulating effects by blocking adenosine receptors in the brain.
Adenosine, that's the stuff that makes us sleepy.
Exactly. Adenosine is that neurotransmitter that gradually builds up throughout the day, contributing to our feelings of tiredness and sleep pressure. By blocking these receptors, caffeine effectively masks fatigue and keeps us feeling more alert.
Okay, but how long does it stick around?
The crucial thing to understand is its half-life, which averages around 5 to 6 hours for most people, but can vary significantly depending on individual metabolism.
Half-life. So half is gone in 5, 6 hours.
Correct. This means that even if you have a cup of coffee in the early afternoon, say 2 p.m., approximately half of that caffeine could still be circulating in your system when you're trying to fall asleep many hours later, like at 10 or 11 p.m.
Wow, that's a much longer duration than I think many people realize. So even that seemingly innocent 3 p.m. pick-me-up could be subtly interfering with our sleep later on.
Research strongly suggests that it can. While a small amount of caffeine earlier in the day might not pose a significant problem for everyone, studies have consistently shown that larger doses, say 400 milligrams, which is like a few strong cups of coffee,
Right.
even when consumed as much as 6 hours before bedtime, can still interfere with the ability to fall asleep and can lead to more fragmented sleep throughout the night.
So the advice is,
As a general guideline, limiting caffeine consumption to the morning hours is often the most prudent advice. Maybe aim for none afternoon or 2 p.m. at the latest if you're less sensitive.
okay, what about alcohol? It's a common belief that a nightcap can help you relax and fall asleep more easily.
Oh, the nightcap myth. While alcohol might initially induce a feeling of drowsiness, its effects on the overall quality of sleep are actually quite disruptive.
How so? Doesn't it knock you out?
It might feel like it does initially, but as your body processes the alcohol, it leads to significant disturbances in the later stages of sleep. Specifically, it tends to suppress REM sleep.
The dream sleep.
Yes, which is absolutely crucial for cognitive functions like memory consolidation and emotional processing. Additionally, alcohol can interfere with the natural production of melatonin and can also relax the muscles in the throat,
Leading to.
potentially exacerbating snoring and even contributing to sleep apnea. So while that bedtime drink might help you drift off initially, the overall restorative quality of your sleep is significantly diminished. You often wake up feeling less refreshed.
So it's probably best to avoid that evening alcoholic beverage altogether, especially in the hours leading up to sleep.
Especially in the, say, 3, 4 hours immediately before bedtime, yes. Now, let's shift our focus to food. What about those late night snacks or those heavy, substantial dinners right before we try to sleep?
I definitely know from personal experience that I tend to feel quite sluggish and uncomfortable if I eat a large meal right before heading to bed. It just sits there.
Exactly. Consuming a heavy meal, particularly one that's high in fat or complex carbohydrates, forces your digestive system to work intensely during a time when your body should be slowing down and preparing for rest.
Makes sense.
This can very commonly lead to physical discomfort such as indigestion, heartburn, or bloating, making it difficult to fall asleep initially or causing awakenings during the night. Research has even indicated that eating within 3 to 4 hours of your intended bedtime can increase the likelihood of acid reflux.
And it's not just about physical comfort, is it? I've also heard that the types of food we eat late at night can impact the actual stages of our sleep.
That's absolutely correct. Some studies have suggested a correlation between diets that are higher in saturated fat and sugar and experiencing less deep, slow-wave sleep,
The really restorative stuff.
which is so vital for physical restoration. Conversely, diets that are richer in fiber have been associated with more of that deep, restorative sleep.
Interesting.
Furthermore, eating late at night can interfere with the body's natural overnight fasting state and can potentially disrupt the delicate balance of hormones like insulin and growth hormone, which are important during sleep.
So finish eating earlier is the message.
Generally, yes. If you do find yourself feeling hungry close to bedtime, opting for a very small, light, and easily digestible snack is generally the right approach. Think a small banana or a few almonds, maybe.
And liquids.
And also be mindful of your fluid intake in the 1-2 hours before sleep to minimize those disruptive nighttime trips to the bathroom. Nocturia, it's called.
Okay, so we should aim to cut out the late night feasts and be mindful of our consumption of caffeine and alcohol, particularly in the hours leading up to sleep. But what about specific foods or nutrients that can actually promote better sleep?
There are indeed certain nutrients that play a role in supporting healthy sleep. Tryptophan, for example, is an essential amino acid.
Good turkey chemical.
Kind of.
Yeah.
The body uses it to synthesize serotonin, which helps to regulate mood and promotes relaxation, and can subsequently be converted into melatonin.
Ah, the sleep hormone again.
Then there's magnesium. It's a crucial mineral that helps to relax both muscles and the nervous system.
Okay.
And strategically consuming small portions of complex carbohydrates can aid in making tryptophan more available to the brain.
So what are some good food sources of these sleep-promoting components? Where do we find them?
Lean protein sources such as turkey, chicken, fish, eggs are good sources of tryptophan. Magnesium can be found in abundance in leafy green vegetables like spinach, various nuts like almonds and walnuts, and seeds such as pumpkin and chia seeds, even avocados.
Healthy stuff.
And for those beneficial complex carbohydrates, small servings of whole grains or certain fruits like bananas and tart cherries, which actually contain some natural melatonin, can be good options.
So focus on whole foods.
The key is to really focus on maintaining a balanced diet that's rich in whole, unprocessed foods, rather than relying on processed snacks that are often high in sugar and unhealthy fats, especially later in the day.
So it sounds like what we eat and drink, and especially the timing of our consumption, has a far more significant impact on our sleep than many of us might actually realize.
It really does.
Now, let's move on to a very common challenge that many people face right as their heads hit the pillow. That relentless racing mind.
Ugh. This is an incredibly common barrier to achieving good quality sleep. You might feel physically exhausted, but your brain just refuses to quiet down.
Been there many times.
You start replaying the events of the day, worrying about tasks for tomorrow, or even becoming anxious about the very fact that you can't fall asleep. It's important to understand that this isn't simply a matter of willpower. There are underlying physiological processes at play.
So what's actually happening in our bodies when our minds just won't seem to switch off and allow us to drift off to sleep? It feels like you're buzzing.
When we experience stress or anxiety, our body's natural fight or flight response can be activated. This leads to the release of stress hormones such as cortisol and adrenaline,
The stress hormones.
which are designed to increase our alertness, elevate our heart rate, and raise our blood pressure, precisely the opposite of what our bodies need in order to prepare for sleep.
Right, you need calm, not high alert.
Elevated levels of cortisol in particular can directly counteract the various biological processes that promote sleepiness.
And then we can easily get caught in that really frustrating cycle, can't we? Lying awake, worrying about not being able to fall asleep, which in turn just generates more stress and
Yeah.
further elevates those cortisol levels. It feeds itself.
Exactly. And the realities of modern life often exacerbate this issue. Our constant connectivity through technology, the societal pressure to be constantly productive, and our frequent exposure to stimulating content right before bed
Checking emails,
Yeah.
scrolling social media.
all contribute to this heightened state of pre-sleep anxiety and a blurring of the boundaries between our active on time and our necessary off time. We don't have a clear shutdown sequence anymore.
So how do we effectively break free from this mental whirlwind and actually calm our minds down in preparation for sleep?
This is precisely where establishing a consistent and intentionally relaxing pre-bedtime routine becomes so incredibly valuable.
A wind-down routine.
Think of it as creating a clear and reliable signal to both your brain and your body that it's time to begin winding down and preparing for sleep. This routine helps you to make that crucial transition from a state of heightened alertness to a more calm and relaxed state.
So swap out stimulating things for calming things.
Actively replacing stimulating activities, such as checking emails or watching intense or action-packed television shows, with more calming activities in the 30 to 60 minutes leading up to bed, can really help to shift your nervous system into that rest and digest mode.
What are some effective examples of a calming pre-bedtime activities that people can incorporate into their routines? What works?
Well, reading a physical book is a classic for a reason. The light from e-readers can sometimes be disruptive. Taking a warm bath, maybe with some Epsom salts for magnesium,
Ah, good tie-in.
engaging in gentle stretching or very light yoga, listening to calming music, nature sounds, or relaxing podcasts, and practicing mindfulness or meditation are all excellent options.
What about apps?
Guided meditation apps can be particularly helpful for individuals who are new to meditation or find it challenging to quiet their minds on their own. The most important thing is to discover what you personally find most relaxing and enjoyable. It has to work for you.
And consistency is key here, right? Doing the same types of things each night helps your brain to recognize these activities as signals that sleep is approaching.
Absolutely. It builds that association. And beyond those broader routine activities, specific techniques like guided deep breathing exercises and progressive muscle relaxation have been scientifically shown to be very effective in calming a racing mind
Okay.
and significantly reducing the amount of time it takes to fall asleep. Sleep latency, it's called.
How do these techniques actually work? What's the science there?
Guided deep breathing involves consciously taking slow, controlled inhalations and exhalations, maybe in for 4, hold for 4, out for 6, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
This directly activates the parasympathetic nervous system.
The rest and digest system.
Exactly. It leads to a lowering of your heart rate and the promotion of overall relaxation. Progressive muscle relaxation involves systematically tensing and then consciously releasing different muscle groups throughout your body.
Like clenching your fist, then releasing.
Precisely. You work your way up or down the body. This helps you to become more aware of any physical tension you might be holding and facilitates its release.
And this actually helps you fall asleep faster.
Studies have indicated that even just 5 to 10 minutes of practicing these techniques right before bed can significantly decrease the time it takes to fall asleep for many individuals.
Wow.
This reduction in sleep latency is often comparable to that achieved with mild sleep aids, highlighting the powerful physiological effects of these practices. They directly tackle that physical and mental arousal.
That's really encouraging to know. So it's about actively creating that mental and physiological space that's conducive to sleep.
Exactly.
Now, we've talked extensively about what we can do around bedtime to improve our sleep. But our choices and habits during the day also have a profound influence on how well we sleep at night, don't they?
They absolutely do. Optimizing your sleep is not just about focusing on the hours immediately preceding bed. It's a 24-hour job, really.
Huh, yeah, seems like it.
The decisions you make and the habits you cultivate throughout the entire day have a significant impact on the quality and duration of your sleep later that night.
Okay, let's begin with physical activity. We all know that exercise is beneficial for our overall health, but how does it specifically affect our sleep patterns?
Regular physical activity plays a crucial role in building up what we call sleep pressure, that gradual accumulation of adenosine in your brain we mentioned earlier.
Right, the sleepiness chemical.
Engaging in exercise essentially speeds up this process, leading to a stronger drive to sleep at night, which can often result in falling asleep more quickly and experiencing deeper, more restorative sleep.
So exercise makes you more tired, basically.
In a good way. Research has even suggested that as little as 30 minutes of moderate aerobic exercise, like a brisk walk, may lead to noticeable improvements in sleep quality, and these benefits can sometimes be observed even within the same night.
But I've heard that the timing of exercise is really important when it comes to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Can't exercise too late.
That's absolutely critical. It's generally advisable to avoid intense exercise too close to your bedtime, ideally within about 2 to 3 hours.
Okay.
Because vigorous activity can temporarily raise your core body temperature and trigger the release of stimulating hormones like adrenaline, which can actually make it harder to fall asleep.
So morning or afternoon exercise is better.
Aim to schedule your workouts for earlier in the day whenever possible, yes.
What about napping? Are they generally helpful or potentially harmful when it comes to our ability to sleep well at night? The siesta debate.
Naps can offer some benefits, such as improved alertness and cognitive performance, but their impact on nighttime sleep largely depends on their timing and duration.
Okay.
Long naps, say over 30 minutes, or naps taken late in the day, like after 3 or 4 p.m., can reduce the accumulated sleep pressure.
Making you less tired at bedtime.
Exactly, making it more challenging to feel sufficiently sleepy at your regular bedtime and potentially disrupting your body's natural circadian clock.
So short naps are okay.
On the other hand, short power naps, typically around 20 minutes in the early afternoon, can often provide a boost in alertness and energy without significantly interfering with nighttime sleep.
20 minutes seems to be the magic number.
It often is. But it's important to note that the effects of napping can vary considerably from person to person. Some people find any nap disrupts their night sleep.
Right, individual differences.
Yeah.
Now, we previously discussed the vital role of light exposure in the morning for setting our circadian rhythm. What role does light play during the rest of the day in influencing our sleep?
Consistent exposure to bright light, especially natural sunlight, throughout the daytime hours further reinforces the synchronization of your circadian rhythm.
Keeps the clock aligned.
It sends strong signals to your brain that it's daytime, which helps to boost your mood and energy levels and creates a clearer distinction between day and night for your internal biological clock, ultimately facilitating sleepiness in the evening.
So getting outside during the day helps you sleep at night.
Studies have indeed shown that adequate daytime bright light exposure can contribute to improvements in both sleep quality and the total duration of sleep.
And if you don't get enough light.
Conversely, insufficient exposure to bright light during the day, maybe you work in a dimly lit office all day, can sometimes lead to feelings of sluggishness and a weaker wakefulness signal, potentially blurring that crucial day-night distinction for your body's internal clock.
So actively making an effort to spend some time outdoors in natural sunlight during the day is not just good for our mood, but also for our nighttime sleep quality. Take a walk at lunch, maybe.
Absolutely. Making a conscious effort to spend some time outdoors in natural sunlight, especially in the earlier part of the day, can be very beneficial. If outdoor exposure is limited, using bright light therapy lamps at appropriate times can also be a helpful strategy.
Okay.
And it's so important to remember that poor sleep that results from unoptimized daytime habits isn't just about feeling tired the next day. We touched on this earlier, but it bears repeating.
The long-term health effects.
It's consistently linked to a wide range of broader health issues, including an increased risk of cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, obesity, mood disorders like anxiety and depression,
Cognitive function too, right?
impaired cognitive functions affecting how well you think, react, work, learn, and interact with others, a weakened immune system, and even diminished decision-making abilities.
So sleep affects literally everything.
Prioritizing these sleep-supporting habits throughout the day is truly fundamental for our overall long-term health and well-being. It's not a luxury. It's essential.
So the key actionable takeaways for optimizing our daytime habits for better sleep at night are: incorporate regular moderate exercise earlier in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Keep any naps short, like 20 minutes, and ideally in the early afternoon.
Right.
And make a concerted effort to get ample exposure to bright light, preferably natural sunlight, during our waking hours.
Exactly. These proactive daytime choices lay the essential groundwork for a much better and more restorative night's rest by effectively building that necessary sleep pressure and helping to maintain a strong and well-regulated circadian rhythm.
Well, this has been an incredibly insightful deep dive into the science of sleep. It's really clear that achieving better sleep isn't about finding some sort of magic cure, but rather about understanding and implementing simple, consistent adjustments across various aspects of our lives.
That's precisely it. It's about thoughtfully optimizing your sleep environment, respecting your body's natural biological rhythms, being mindful of your food and drink choices and their timing, actively calming your mind before bed, and making conscious choices during the day that support healthy sleep. Small things add up.
And the great news is that we can all likely start implementing some of these changes tonight. Maybe try making your bedroom as dark as possible, or take just 5 minutes to practice some deep breathing exercises before you turn out the lights.
Exactly. Pick one thing.
Every small step can really make a difference over time.
And if you continue to experience significant and persistent sleep problems despite making these recommended changes, it's always a wise idea to consult with a qualified healthcare professional.
Good point. When should someone see a doctor?
If you have ongoing issues like excessive daytime sleepiness despite thinking you slept enough, or chronic difficulty falling or staying asleep, these may require further medical evaluation. There could be underlying conditions. But ultimately, prioritizing your sleep is one of the most valuable investments you can make in your overall health, well-being, and quality of life.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for diving deep with us today and sharing these incredibly practical tools and insights for achieving a better night's sleep. This was really helpful.
My pleasure. It's such an important topic. Until our next deep dive, continue to explore ways to prioritize your well-being and get the rest you truly need.